Today we're going to talk about making burritos with leftovers. Essentially, I had some chicken left over from the other day. We grilled up some chicken and used it for one thing, and now we have a bunch of leftovers. But you can do this for steak, if you got some extra veggies, whatever you've got. How can you turn that into a delicious burrito? Coming up next. All right, the first thing to think about when you're talking about leftover burritos is, what do you want to have in your burrito? For us today, we're going to put in some chicken. We're going to have some rice. I made some rice for this. Some black beans. You always want to have some cheese. I also made some chipotle sauce. Essentially what I did is I took some sour cream, some chipotles and adobe, mixed it up, maybe on a 4-to-1, 5-to-1 ratio. And this is what you get. It's going to be a real nice sauce in that burrito for some flavor. Now we've got some giant tortillas, and what we're going to do is we're going to actually turn these into sort of chimichanga without actually deep frying them. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this nice grill, got it up, heated up to 400 degrees, and we're going to heat up the tortilla, and we're going to build it, and then we're going to like baste it in some oil. And I put a little bit of seasoning salt in the oil. I use some fancy seasoning salt. We got some Red Robin seasoning salt. New sponsor, not actually.
No.
It's good stuff. And with that, it'll fry up. And it will not only make a nice dinner, but the leftovers will be reheated nicely for some lunches. So once we get that nice and hot, so it's pliable, we stick that on our first plate, and we're going to start building. The first thing I like to do is add a handful of cheese, maybe a little less than that. Some cheese. Put some meat in there. Add some rice, some black beans, sauce, and a little bit of extra cheese. Now, folding these things gets a little bit tricky. It takes some patience, some practice. But essentially, if you fold the outsides, fold this in, and then move it over, you've got a nice little burrito. We're going to put a light coating of oil around it on both sides. And when we put it on the grill, you put it with the flap side down. That way when it heats, it kind of seals it in, so when you flip it over, it doesn't open back up again. All right, after the first one was done, we got the second one done. We flip this over, you can see it's grilled nicely. We got the third tortilla going, and by the time this is done, we'll flip that over, and you kind of have a process going. So you have about 4 of these at a time where you can keep them going and flipping and grilling. All right, we've got the burritos made. We got a couple already off on the rack, and as you can see, what we're doing here is we're just grilling all the sides. If they're too flat, you can just do back and forth, but if they're nice and fat, you can kind of simmer them around and get them on all 4 sides. And as soon as they're nice and dark brown, just the way we like them, they're ready to go. Cut this open and see what we got. And the best part about doing these burritos is the leftovers. Now, these burritos, these big ones, usually come in about an 8-pack. And so if you've got enough meat and enough ingredients to make 8 of them, let's say you have a family of 4. You feed 4 of them, you got 4 left over. These freeze beautifully. And when you've got them ready to go and you want some leftovers for lunch, you stick them in a toaster oven, you put them on bake for 325 for about an hour, and they'll come out crispy and perfect. So make these, make the leftovers, freeze them, and have lunch.